Good afternoon, everyone. This is the All49ers Roundtable, kind of like Around the Horn. It's basically the same exact concept as Around the Horn with a similar title, but we're not stealing copyright stuff. There's laws. So that's what we're doing. We're talking 49ers for the next 45, 55 minutes. I'm Grant Cohn. We got Jack Hammer, Nick Newman, Maverick Pallack. Nick is usually a Friday guest. Today he's hopping on Thursday. I don't know how you guys are going to do it. It's like worlds are colliding. But we're going to do the best we can. We're going to try to develop some chemistry on the fly. We got 10 topics today. They're all about your favorite football team that now is the native of Arizona. We're the Phoenix 49ers. How will this move, excursion, vacation to Arizona affect the 49ers moving forward?
I think
whoever wants to start.
I think it will be tough because obviously any person wants to be around their family, but I don't know if it's necessarily a death sentence just because the Niners have played pretty well on the road the last couple of seasons. I think especially with no crowd, it's not like they're losing a home field advantage that much. If they do allow fans for the rest of the season at Arizona, it might actually give them their first home field advantages of the season. So that'd be an interesting thing, but I think they'll be fine. It's not a death sentence.
That's a good way to put it, Maverick. I don't think it's a death sentence either. When they first announced they were going to Arizona, I thought to myself, wow, it's cool. They'll be bonding with one another, staying in the same hotel. It kind of gives that high school basketball tournament feel where you spend a couple days with your teammates or even college even. And then Shanahan shot that down real quick. Like, no, they're not going to be spending any time together. This is not a bonding experience by any means. We did that in New Orleans, and that's when we started seeing the COVID tests. And I like how Shanahan today touched on the mental aspect of everything. I don't expect being in Arizona to hurt the team early on, but when you get into that second or third week, how is that going to feel? How are the players going to be feeling, especially if they lose a game early on? I feel like as long as they're winning, they'll be upbeat. But then if they lose this game to the Bills or another one of the Washington football team where they're no longer really in playoff contention, not only are you stuck in Arizona, but you're kind of kicked out of the playoffs, so to speak. So that can be really tough on the players. But hopefully all goes well and they're winning and it's an upbeat environment.
I think from a personal perspective, it's going to be hard for these guys because they're, like everybody said, they're away from their families. From the other standpoint is they've played well when they've gone away from home for an extended period of time. Last year when they stayed back east after the Ravens game, they went out and they had a big game against New Orleans and won that. This year, after they stayed out east, they came out and beat the heck out of the Giants in that game. I know the Giants aren't much, but still, I know they're not going to be able to play around with each other and hang out like they normally would, but I just think it's going to be able to help them really just focus on the job at hand.
Yeah, I think there are silver linings. Like from a coach's perspective, they're like, look, I mean, it's not all bad. We can take heart in the fact that we can monitor them more closely. Maybe they'll be more focused. We weren't winning at home anyway. But if we're being honest, it's not a good thing. It's not like they got down to LA and then they got the news and they were like, all right, yes, we're not going back to Santa Clara. And things just got way better. Like, if the Niners do pull off like a Super Bowl victory, like this just adds to the lore of this season. It's just one more plague that God threw down from the heavens onto the Israelites. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, now we got to deal with frogs. Okay, frogs. All right, we'll do the best we can with frogs. We like frogs, but it's still frogs raining down on us. It seems to me that it's like, it's not. I mean, Shanahan was asked yesterday, like, are there any silver linings here? And he was like, no. I mean, this really sucks. I really wish we didn't have to do this. But I mean, I really think if any team can make the most of it, it is the Niners for the reasons you laid out. But like, come on, they're freaking homeless. Like, that's not. It's like, all right, well, let's just make a cardboard box and see what we can do for the next 3 weeks. You know, so
it would make for one hell of a 30 for 30 if they won the Super Bowl.
Great book. We would probably have to write the book together. Maybe a coloring book, the four of us.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move into the game this weekend, because all of a sudden it's like the most interesting game since the Super Bowl. The Niners against the Bills. If the Niners win, it's like, who can't they beat? If they lose, it's like, oh, can they make it to the playoffs? A lot's on the line. So what is the question I want to ask? What is the biggest concern facing the 49ers when they face the Bills offense? What is the biggest concern about this Bills offense?
The biggest concern about this Bills offense is Josh Allen and his ability to move. When you watch with what makes Allen so good is with his ability to run, and that whole thing is it opens up the receiving game on the back end as well, because it's really with a running quarterback, you're changing the numbers in the box, right? So now you've got an extra blocker to account for that. And the defense has to adjust, which then usually opens up some stuff in the passing game. So it's going to be interesting to really see how if Saleh can adjust to that and finally stop a running quarterback.
Not only that, the Achilles heel of the 49ers defense this year has been the combination of a mobile quarterback with a rocket arm and a solid complementary of receivers. And that's exactly what this Bill offense brings to the table. It's the first time in quite some time where I'm actually more concerned about the 49ers defense opposed to the 49ers offense, because I like how the offense matches up against the Bills defense. When you look at Josh Allen, he can make plays outside of the pocket. He's extremely mobile, can pick up yards in his own right, and he has 4 very, very, very solid receivers. So that's what the 49ers need to do defensively, just continue to keep everything in front of them. And I'm excited to see the combination of Emmanuel Mosley potentially in the slot with Jamar Taylor's injury and K'Wan Williams possibly not coming back, with Sherman and Verrett outside and Jimmy Ward playing in that strong safety role and Tarvarius Moore back deep. But that's what I'm most concerned about. Josh Allen, his ability to make plays outside the pocket, that rocket arm, and having that full complement of receivers to throw to.
Yeah.
I was telling Grant I got a subscription to StatHead before the show, so I got way into numbers today. So for Allen scrambling, I think the Niners actually have a better chance of stopping his scrambling than they do the deep ball, just because I think that Gabriel Davis is a very good deep threat for the Bills. He has 22 catches on 35 targets. 16 of those 22 catches go for first downs. He's a big play threat. Although they don't have John Brown, they do have him. And then, of course, Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley. And then Allen has been really good going toward the left, deep left. He has 375 yards and 5 touchdown passes going deep left. But he also has 4 interceptions. So I think they can combat that. And then to end my stat spree for the scrambling, to end it, the scrambling, Allen has only slid. This was just me on NFL Game Pass all day. He slid 5 times this season on 64 rushes if you subtract all the kneel downs he has this year. So he only slid 5 times, and that's what hurt the Niners against Kyler Murray, is they couldn't figure out how to stop a guy when he slid. And I think that could play into their advantage, is being able to bring him down, knowing that you can tackle him. He likes to lower his head, and Fred Warner and Jimmy Ward are pretty dang good tacklers, and I think they can win those matchups.
That's a nice nugget.
Those are good answers. Okay, well, I'll do the best I can to follow that up. I was just watching the Bills play the Chargers. So I was looking at it from the perspective of how Robert Saleh would look at it. He's watching what Gus Bradley did, and Gus Bradley did a lot of things well. I mean, he did a good job against Stephon Diggs. I think he held him to like less than 40 yards receiving. So set like 7 short catches. They held Josh Allen to, I think, an 88 quarterback rating. They did a good job, but what they couldn't do was stop the run, interestingly enough. And then when there were like some 3rd and 10s, there were a couple conversions where the Bills had just screen passes to the running back. So basically stopping the running backs was the Achilles heel for the Chargers in that game. And it's something I think the Niners can handle. I mean, I don't think, I mean, like Nick said, the Achilles heel is the mobile quarterback with the elite wide receiver. But is Stephon Diggs on that level? I mean, I know that he can beat Ahkello Witherspoon. We've seen him do it any number of times. 2018, earlier this year. Is he going to beat Jason Verrett? I don't know. Or Richard Sherman, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's a different matchup. I think the Niners actually match up pretty well with Stephon Diggs. And if they can just be ready for, like, they can stop the run and stop the screen game, I think they match up pretty freaking well. It's a good defense, guys. And they got 2 good corners. It's not like Emmanuel Mosley is going to get picked on. No one really respects Emmanuel Mosley. People definitely respect Jason Verrett.
Yeah, and I'm kind of touching on one of the things that Mav said. You're talking about the receiver core. Not having John Brown is a big deal for the Bills. They've scored barely over 20 points in the 3 games that he hasn't played for them this year. So you take him out of the lineup, and that's going to help with some of these things that we're talking about, because it's really Stephon Diggs and one other guy that's going to be out there. So I think that you ask what our biggest concern is. That's the biggest concern, but I think the 49ers defense is going to be able to step up this week.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's flip it around. What's the biggest concern for the 49ers when they face the Bills defense?
I'd say the biggest concern is Jerry Hughes, just because he's been lining up over the right tackle a lot in recent weeks, and I think we all know what's wrong with the right side of the offensive line, especially against pass protection. And Jerry Hughes, last 5 games, he has 4.5 sacks. He had 2 QB hits in his last game against the Chargers. I think he can possibly cause a turnover this weekend. I would say he would cause a turnover, whether it be forcing a Mullens interception or getting a strip sack.
Yeah, I'm nervous about the Bills pass rush because they've been playing a lot better as of late. I believe the other pass rusher alongside of Jerry Hughes is AJ Klein, and they're tied for first with the Bills in sacks or for the team lead. Mike McGlinchey's been one of the bigger disappointments this year, and it's a neck-and-neck race between Eric Armstead and Mike McGlinchey after Jimmy Ward's performance last week. As far as on the offensive side of the ball, Mike McGlinchey has been the biggest disappointment. So anytime he's going up against an slightly above average pass rusher, which I think Jerry Hughes fits under, it's a reason for concern. So I'm with Maverick all the way, and ideally you want to have a full complement of having George Kittle, and Nick Mullens has been playing very well, so that's going to hold the 49ers back to an extent. I'd like to see Jordan Reed get more involved, but definitely the pass rush that's been stepping up for the Bills as of late, a cause for concern.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the pass rush is the biggest concern. If you look at the Bills, they don't have any one single guy that's really good. With the Bills, when you look at them, they do it throughout their defense. They got guys, their safeties and even their corners are getting sacked. So they don't have one guy that has a lot. I think the most they have on their team is 5. But as a unit overall, they're one of the top pass rushing defenses in the league. So that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, to me, they got 2 elite players. Elite. They got the cornerback, Tre'Davious White, and the middle linebacker, Trey Edmonds, and both can have a big impact because we saw what Bobby Wagner did to the Niners. He basically beat him. He had like 10 tackles, a couple sacks, quarterback hits. Him blitzing up the A-gap, the Niners had no answer for it. I'm sure the Bills have seen that film and are going to try something similar with a better player. I mean, a younger player, a more athletic player. And then Trey White might be the best corner in the league. So they can, I mean, they can't, he's up there. And they can put him on, I mean, you'd expect them to put him on Deebo Samuel, given how Deebo Samuel just single-handedly won a game for the Niners last week. Trey White's going to give Deebo Samuel a lot of problems. I mean, Deebo Samuel's tough to tackle after the catch, but before the catch, Trey White can cover him. So the Niners may not be able to just feed Deebo Samuel as frequently and easily as they did last week. They might have to go to guys like Brandon Ayuk, Richie James, Ross Dwelly, other things. So that's going to be an issue. They're going to have to, I mean, you don't go after Trey White. You work other ways.
Great.
Let's talk about Richard Sherman. What do we expect to see from him the rest of the season? Are we expecting to see him pick up exactly where he left off last week, or was that a function of the matchup he had?
I really like where the change up with Sherman going to the boundary side. I think that really helps him out. I think he was on the field earlier. Was it where he was supposed to be? I think putting him on the other side is really helpful because he is the less athletic of the two. And that really helps his game. He's got the help with the sideline right there, and it just allows him to like the one play that we showed on our film breakdown where he's able to stay on top of the receiver and use his eyes in the backfield. I think him on the boundary side is going to allow him to continue that level of play throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, I'm not a film guru by any stretch of the imagination, but going back and watching the 49ers game, something that stood out to me is it looked like there was man being played on the opposite side of Sherman at times, and Sherman was kind of more ranging around by the boundary like Jack touched on. I like the role that Richard Sherman's playing right now, and I feel like Robert Saleh, being one of the best defensive coordinators in the game that he is, he'll be able to get creative with his schemes, knowing that Richard Sherman's back in the action. To be completely honest, I was not looking forward to Richard Sherman returning. I was anxious to see how he would fit in, knowing that the 49ers have been playing so well with Mosley and Verrett in that man defense, because he does limit the defense to an extent, but he looked very good. And just having his wits and his leadership on the field is huge for not just the defense, but the entire team. So I do expect Richard Sherman to continue the level of play we saw last week. That doesn't necessarily mean an interception every single week to close out the year, but be a tone setter and be involved and make sure no big plays happen under his watch. I expect that to continue.
Yeah, I think Richard Sherman, at first, when I was looking at this game, I thought he wasn't good for this matchup because Buffalo likes to throw deep. And I know there are concerns about his speed. But I do think it is a favorable just because Josh Allen does like to take risks, and he can get baited at times. He is a very talented quarterback. He was an MVP frontrunner the first 6 weeks of the season or so, but he can get baited, and Sherman is a film junkie. He knows what he's doing, and he can bait Allen just like he did. Remember that famous video against Kyle Allen last year, I believe it was, when he intercepted him and he knew the play before it even happened. I feel like that was true last week against the Rams, where he knows Jared Goff's ins and outs, and I think he can match up well against Josh Allen just because of the way he can bait guys into throws. He might still get beat once or twice for a gain, but he will make a play, I think.
Right. And plus Sherman has a proven track record against quarterbacks who are named Allen. So I think that bodes well. No, here's the thing about Richard Sherman. I'm the negative Richard Sherman guy. He already blocked me, so I don't have to worry about it. You guys all said he's going to keep this going. I don't think he will, guys. I mean, I think he's going to have a positive effect on the defense. I think I was a little too negative, but you always got to worry about that play that he gave up to Adams and the play that he gave up to Watkins. It's the same type of play. It's the wide receiver faking the outside release and going to the inside and going deep. And if you watch the film from last week, you don't got to be a film guru, but there were multiple times when a wide receiver gave Richard Sherman the outside jab step, went up the field, and didn't get the ball. And when Richard Sherman faces that, a lot of the times he'll spin in a circle. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want to stop, change directions. I don't know if he calls it a speed turn or what it is, but it's not the most effective method. He's never really in phase with the wide receiver. It's there. It's still on film. I don't know if Robert Woods couldn't execute it, but I think Stephon Diggs could. And maybe this isn't the week that Richard Sherman will get burned, but it's always out there waiting. And it's not the reason necessarily the Niners lost the Super Bowl. It may never really hurt the Niners, but that's what it's lingering. It's lurking. It lingers. So got to think about it. He was great last game. I'm always wondering if that's going to happen. I think Stephon Diggs could pull it off. He's just as good and fast as Sammy Watkins, is he not? Devontae Adams. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So still though, I mean, he has a positive effect on the defense. It's clear when Mosley's on the field, offenses are like, we got to go after this guy. When Sherman's out there, they're like, we got to pick our spots. So that's the one spot they might pick. Same question with Jimmy Ward. What are our expectations for him the rest of the season? Is he going to continue to be the impact playmaker that he was on Sunday?
Going back on Allen's rushing numbers, he doesn't slide, and I think that works for Ward because he's a good tackler. And I think, he might not be the most interception safety of all time, but I think he can tackle and he gets forced fumbles. And as long as he can bring Allen down and not give up those big plays, I think that will help this defense. Allen also doesn't really throw to the tight ends that much. Dawson Knox gets a couple touches in the red zone, but I think as long as he controls the middle, where Allen doesn't have the best success in the middle, that's really Cole Beasley's area and running the ball. So I think Ward can have a solid game this week.
Yeah, it's hard to evaluate Jimmy Ward because he's playing in a new role right now with Tarvarius Moore playing DPs, lining up in the box a lot more. It would be unfair to expect Jimmy Ward to play like that every single Sunday. Going into this game, I believe it was 73 career games he played in prior to the game against the Rams, and he forced 2 fumbles over those previous 73 games. Then all of a sudden he doubles his forced fumble total in one game alone. If Jimmy
That's
Ward,
the new expectation, Nick. That's every game he has to. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what he's got to do. If he's not forcing 2 fumbles, he's a complete waste of space on the field. Yeah, he's done, not worth the contract. I do feel like the switch to him playing strong safety may benefit and justify his contract moving forward if he can continue to play somewhat at the level he played. He was excellent in coverage as well against the Rams. He was targeted 8 times, gave up 3 completions for 16 yards. He was great across the board.
16?
16.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
He was really, really good in all phases of the game against the Rams, playing in the box. So we'll have to take a step back and watch this season unfold as he takes on this new role, because this can be a glimpse into the future next season with Tarvarius Moore playing deep, Richard Sherman, Jimmy Ward in that strong safety role. And I love Marcel Harris as that rover linebacker. So that's something I want to follow along to. I don't expect Jimmy Ward to play that well every single game for the remainder of the year because he was playing out of his mind.
So negative.
Well, the thing with Ward is he's not going to keep it up at that same level. He's going to be he's one of those guys. He's a solid guy. He doesn't a lot of times he doesn't make plays necessarily. They've kind of changed his role around the last few weeks. I think that combined with the fact that Grant gets on him and we've all been talking so bad about him. He obviously checks it out based off of his Instagram page.
There's no question. He owes us like $5.
but I think he played well. Nick, to your point about how well he played last week against the Rams, he's played well against the Rams in the past. If you remember that game last year down in LA, he had some really big plays. So
yeah,
he's going to need to keep playing well throughout. And the Niners need guys to be forcing fumbles and turnovers for him. So hopefully he does.
Okay, I'm going to surprise you guys. I'm going to be the most optimistic of the four about Jimmy Ward. I've been the most pessimistic about him, but seeing him at strong safety, I'm sold. I like it. He is not a free safety. He does not make plays in the back half of your defense, but up close to the line of scrimmage. I love him. He's a good tackler in the box. He plays like a linebacker. He's good in man coverage. He is a play. He forces fumbles. He may never get picks, but he does force fumbles. The only thing about Jimmy Ward now, he's found his position. He has a home at strong safety. He was meant for this spot. Can he hold up?
Yeah.
I mean, how long can he hold up? He's still built like a corner, and he plays like a strong safety. And he's had injury issues in the past, broken bones, things like that. How long can he last playing strong safety? Because while he's there, I think he's going to play like a Pro Bowler. I think it's like I couldn't see it before, and now I get it. He was made to do this, but I don't know. I mean, I always wondered about his durability, and I think the reason that it took him so long for coaches to finally put him there is because of this. I think the Niners drafted him. They were like, well, he played strong safety at Northern Illinois, wherever, Eastern Illinois, but can't do that here. You got to play him at nickel, and then you the corner is like, well, maybe we can play him at safety. So now we'll see, but I think this is his home. So I'm hoping he can stay healthy.
And one more thing to add on to that, I've been really critical of his contract, the new contract he got this offseason, because as a free safety, he was just such a safe player. He didn't do anything exciting. He didn't force any turnovers at the time.
Right.
So it was like you're paying this free safety so much money who hasn't picked off a pass in 4 years. And now
he has to make an impact. You're paying impact money. Yes.
Exactly. So now in this strong safety role, it seems he's much more suited to make that impact and justify that contract.
No doubt. Absolutely. So good for Jimmy. You have something to say, Jack?
No, I was agreeing with what Nick was saying.
All right, my bad. I thought I talked over you. All right, same question, final player, Nick Mullens. It's not like he played like Jimmy Ward or Richard Sherman in this last game, but he won. He was good enough for the 49ers to beat a playoff team, backup quarterback. My question is, was that a one-off? Is he going to go up and down? Or can we expect the same from Nick Mullens? Is he going to pick up where he left off against the Rams moving forward?
Well, if you look at where he left off, he was 11 for 14 for 117 yards at the end of the game, over his last few series of the game. He was 9 of 11 on those last two. So he was pretty darn good towards the end of the game. He started off okay. The offense was just all over the place in the first half. It wasn't just him. He had that really good drive right before halftime. They were kind of Aaron Donald was just wrecking the offense in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, the Niners kind of turned around. Do I think he's going to keep up? He's going to play well. I think we're going to see him duplicate it, probably come out and play somewhere similar. I was looking back to see if he'd even won 2 games in a row yet in his career, and he did. If you remember when they pulled off the upset against it was Seattle, and they came back the next week and did it against Denver. So, I think that he can come out and play well. The other thing is he's got Brandon Ayuk this week. He's got another playmaker on the offense. So I really think that he's going to be able to step up. And plus he better, because otherwise I'm going to hear about it.
It's true. It'll be your fault for building him up. You build up everyone's expectations. It's your fault. Sorry. Nick.
I'm partially tempted to say Mullens' performance against the Rams is his floor. I'm not going to go that far. His floor for the remainder of the year, because he had some very, very, very bad throws in that game. But when it mattered, he got the win for you. He came through with a couple of huge throws in the fourth quarter. Like Jack touched on, 11 of 14 were his completions to pass attempts in that fourth quarter. He looked good. I feel good about him leading the offense moving forward. And I'd say to expect more performances like he played against the Rams coming up in the future. I don't expect any more duds like we saw against the Eagles. He may throw a bad pick, but I don't expect him to solely lose a game. And you can argue he did that against the Eagles. I think he's going to play well down the stretch.
I think Mullens can continue what he was doing the last game because I think Kyle Shanahan's finally learning that he has to call the game like he does for Jimmy Garoppolo and get the ball out of Nick Mullens' hands. That's something he struggles with is he holds onto the ball too long sometimes. And the offensive line also isn't good. So that decreases the time he's allowed to hold on to the ball. And he needs to get the ball to Deebo Samuel quickly. He needs to get the ball to Brandon Ayuk quickly, Jordan Reed, whoever you want to throw to, and that will work. Also, running the ball, that'll decrease the pressure. I think that will help him a lot.
Yeah, the key is Shanahan learning he needs to call plays the way he calls them for Jimmy. I mean, for Nick, I think Kyle loves Nick. There's something he really likes Nick, and I think he gets excited when Nick's in the game and wants to call passes down the field to show the difference between the two quarterbacks. And it's not the best way to go with Nick because he's still inexperienced and he is turning the ball over. I mean, what Jimmy and Nick have in common is they're both throwing picks at a high rate. So what Kyle does for Jimmy is to basically take the game out of his hands, call a lot of short passes, and make it impossible for him to throw interceptions. As long as Kyle Shanahan's on his game and the Niners have their full array of weapons, Jimmy Garoppolo is fine. He's not a liability at all. If you start taking things away and Kyle's not on his game, he'll be an interception machine, just like Nick Mullens. So to me, I mean, what Mullens did against the Rams was pretty modest. I mean, he didn't take over the game. He executed an excellent game plan. He distributed the ball to his playmakers and didn't screw up. I think that's a fair expectation for him the rest of the way. It's what Jimmy did last year, if we're being honest. It's what Jimmy did to get the Niners to the Super Bowl last year. I don't know if Nick's going to take the Niners to the Super Bowl, but purely because I don't know if the team is as good as it was last year, the offensive line in particular. So I think we definitely can expect the same level of performance from Nick moving forward because I think, like Jimmy, he's a product of his weapons and his game plan and coaching. So some people just think he's trash, though.
Crazy.
Sorry.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Well,
all right.
Grateful.
I mean, how many backup quarterbacks can go into LA and beat the Rams this year? It's a pretty good team. It's the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, he wasn't good enough. All right. Well, you guys have very high standards for backup quarterback.
Tom Brady couldn't do it at home.
Thank you.
Damn,
like, yeah,
good one,
Nick
Nick.
Mullens is trash, but he's better than Tom Brady this year, but he's still trash.
Damn, I wish I thought of that earlier.
Yeah, Nick. See, that's why you got a big future. That's right.
That's why I'm here on a Thursday to come up with comments
you
like
guys came in loaded. You guys came in armed. Okay, we got 4 more questions. Deebo had a great game last week, so let's really overreact. Is he the toughest matchup for cornerbacks in the NFL? Deebo Samuel.
I think I proposed this question correct.
So yeah, you answered first.
I said that, or I thought it was a question. I'm not saying he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. That's not what.
Defend this question right now.
Yeah. So it's not to say he's the best, but I think he is a very hard receiver to guard just because of the way he gets the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and it's hard to prevent an incompletion on him. True. So he then has the ball, and we've seen he is one of the best players with the ball in his hands in the NFL. So I think that does make him very hard to defend. Tyreek Hill, though, is the hardest player in the NFL to defend just because what he did to Tampa Bay last week, that can happen any play. And the Niners learned firsthand it's really hard to keep Tyreek Hill in your grasp at all times. But I'd say Deebo is definitely top 3 hardest receivers to defend just because of the way it's impossible to keep him out of the catch column.
I really like this question, Maverick, and I agree with it. If you go back and watch what the Rams defense did against the Seahawks wide receivers the last time they matched up, they blanketed DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They were non-factors. Of course, they're 2 very good receivers, so they're going to have their moments over the course of a 60-minute period. But when the Rams play Deebo Samuel, their secondary doesn't have to cover. They have to come up and tackle because of the way he gets the ball. So because of that, when you think about cornerbacks, they take pride in their ability to cover. They don't take as much pride, I should say, most of the time in their ability to come up and make tackles. That's not really what cornerbacks are paid for. Yes, it's part of their job, but Deebo Samuel and the way he gets the ball, it's an extension of a handoff. So I do agree that it's a matchup nightmare for opposing corners, and I don't think there's any corner that wants to go up against Deebo Samuel because your responsibility isn't necessarily to cover him, but to tackle him, and that's no fun with the way he plays the game and how physical he is.
I'm going to change it up a little bit based off of the way that the question is, and I'm going to say that I think Brandon Ayuk is the tougher of the two receivers to cover. I think that as a playmaker, though, Deebo is definitely a guy that it's hard for the defense as a whole to plan for because they can do so many different things. Where's he going to go on any different play? There's just so many different things that they can do with him that he opens up so much else with his, when they run those little swing things, that opens up everything down the field. That's what we saw in the fourth quarter with Shanahan in the second last drive of the game, is that kind of stuff. So that's where the difference is. And I agree with both Mav and Nick, though. Those DBs don't want to have anything to do with Deebo once he gets the ball and starts running at him.
This is an interesting question. And you guys have made a really good argument for why it's him. I mean, really, you could have the best cover corner in the league, put him on him, and Deebo could get 100 yards without really beating him on a route, just like running screens and stuff. But look, and this is a wide receiver I couldn't stand coming out. But I got to say, what DK Metcalf did to the Niners, I know you can slow down DK Metcalf. I'm sure you can slow down Deebo Samuel as well. But what the Niners are going to have to do over the next couple of years just to match up with DK Metcalf is kind of dramatic. I mean, I think they're going to have to draft players specifically to match up with someone that big and strong. I don't know if the Seahawks are going to actually have to draft players to match up with Deebo, although you could argue that they both make equal impacts. The guy in Tennessee is so good too, and they all came out in the same draft. But there's something about DK, just his size. You can't put any corner on him. Even an excellent 5'10" corner could be right there in his pocket and get beat. So maybe that one too, because both with Deebo and DK, with Deebo, you don't even get an opportunity to guard him. He already has the ball. With DK, you could have great coverage and still get beat. Those are tough matchups. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Who has to have a big game for the 49ers to beat the Bills?
Is it me?
I can go on this one, or you can go ahead, Jack.
No, I'll jump in. I think the guy that has to have a big game if the Niners are going to win is really going to be Kyle Shanahan. I think for the 49ers to win, we've talked a lot about different things. He needs to stay balanced in this game if they're going to win. He needs to run the ball. The Bills defense, we talked about how they are very good at pressuring, but they are not very good against the run. They give up their last 3 games. They've given up an average of 4.6 yards per carry. They're at 4.7 over the course of the season. So this is really about him sticking with the run. If you look at what the Rams did, even though they lost in that game when they were behind, he stayed with the run game, and the Rams ran their way back into that game. They didn't put it on the quarterback. So that's what I think. I think he needs to stick. It's on Shanahan to stick with his run game and for the offensive line to do their job for a change.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of Jack. 2 key players for me in this game are Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. It looks like they're the 1-2 combo moving forward. Raheem Mostert had a rough go last time as far as yards per carry goes. I think he was around 2.7. Jeff Wilson Jr. wasn't much better, around 3.3. They combined for 3 yards per carry. It was not a good number, but you can tell their impact was just so drastically missed over the last several weeks because they were not getting touched in the first half before the line of scrimmage. That's a testament to the offensive line that I thought played fairly well in the first half and then completely spiraled out of control after that final drive in the first half. But having both of them back really helps out this offense. They pick up yards that Jerick McKinnon, Austin Walter, JaMychal Hasty, whoever the hell else is back there can't. They're just so physical. They hit the hole so hard. So for me, they both need to have strong performances and they need to take care of the ball. It's very rare to see 2 different running backs fumble in the same game. And the Niners are lucky they were able to walk away from LA with the win, considering those 2 bad turnovers that they had, fumble-wise.
I'm going to go with Eric Armstead. I think he needs to build off his performance last week.
So you're picking the Niners to lose? Oh, sorry. Keep going. You said you wanted to build. Oh, my bad.
Well, I was going to go with Mostert, but I wanted to say new things. Keep it.
No, it's good. I like new things.
I think Armstead, just if he can contain that edge, Josh Allen likes to run a lot of powers, and if he can hold that edge, and also Zach Moss and Devin Singletary are good runners. They make a lot of plays out of the backfield on screens and stuff. If Armstead can just hold that down, I think that would prevent a couple big plays. But I'm not saying he needs to have a 2019 Armstead game. I think if he just plays like he did last week and defends the run pretty well, that'd be good enough for me.
You guys have great answers. Here. Look, this is the way I look at it. The Bills have a bad run defense. The Niners are a run first team. So while it's legit to pick Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr. The way I look at the Bills, they have a terrific defensive coach. He's going to stack the box, and he's going to blitz the hell out of Nick Mullens because it's Nick Mullens, and it worked for Seattle. It worked for Green Bay. And I think they're going to put Trey White on Deebo Samuel and say, all right, let's see what you got now. So to me, if that's what the Bills are going to present the 49ers, a stacked box, a lot of pressure, and an all-pro corner on your best wide receiver, then Brandon Ayuk has to have a great game. He's going to have to get open quick. He's going to have to back this defense off. If he can get a couple of big plays down the field, they can't stack the box. And then Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. can take over. Mm-hmm. But I think they're going to have trouble early in the game before the Niners get Brandon Ayuk established down the field, because I think Deebo Samuel is going to struggle as well. I don't know exactly how the Bills plan on using Trey White, but if he follows Deebo Samuel, it's got to be Brandon Ayuk. It's got to be Brandon Ayuk. And then on defense, Richard Sherman, because that deep throw, as you said, the Bills like to throw deep. They want to go deep to Stephon Diggs. It's going to come at some point. They're going to take the shot eventually. And the question is, are they going to take the shot on Jason Verrett or Richard Sherman? I think you take the shot on Richard Sherman. You wait till you get him in man-to-man coverage, you spin him around, and then you see what you can do. So as long as Richard Sherman doesn't let that lose the game, the Niners should be fine as well. Those are the two guys, Ayuk and Sherman. Those are the correct answers, guys. Good try. Okay. Second to last question. Is this a must-win game for the 49ers?
I think every game from here on out, that's the cliche, is every game's a must-win game. But at this point, I think every game should be a must-win for the 49ers just to keep pace with the Cardinals. But that's just assuming that they lose one of those three division games. If they win out in the division, they beat the Rams, they beat the Seahawks, and they beat the Cardinals to end the year. It doesn't really matter what they do against this one Bills game. They get a mulligan. But I think if they can win this, that does give them some leeway. That last week of the season against the Seahawks, who I think will be really tough for the Niners because they'll be fighting for that 1 seed. So if they win this game, they have a lot of room to maneuver for the rest of the season.
Yeah. If they lose this game, a lot of wins going to get sucked out the sail. So they need to win. It's a must win. I'll keep it short and sweet.
Ooh, okay, Jack.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a must win because they've got to keep this thing going, because if they don't, there's too many teams around them right now with about the same record. I think they need to win this, and they need to get to that game against Arizona without losing.
I actually think it's not a must win game. The way I look at this is the last game the Niners can afford to lose. Now, it's possible they lose this game, win out, and still miss the playoffs. But I think if they lose this game, win out, they probably do make the playoffs. And it's true. Momentum is helpful. Losing your first game after getting evicted from Santa Clara would be a downer. But, again, this is a really good Bills team. They're 8-3. There's no shame in losing to them. It's going to be really hard to beat them. And if they do lose the game, it doesn't mean they're going to lose the following week against – who do they play the following week? Washington
football team.
They're going to beat Washington. They're going to beat Dallas, I think. And then, one way or another, what happens this weekend shouldn't affect what happened the 2 games after that. And then they're 7-7 with a 2-game winning streak going against Arizona, who I don't really believe in. And then if they pull that off, then you get 1 game, for all the marbles against Seattle. So I mean, look, if they win this game, the whole thing becomes much easier. Much easier. Then maybe you don't have to beat Seattle week 17 or Arizona week 16. But I still think they can kind of make it as a photo finish, even if they lose this week. But it would be just better if they took care of business.
The only counter to that is you lose the luxury of controlling your own destiny. I don't have the exact numbers and every playoff scenario laid out in front of me, but you figure if they win out, which they can do and have control over depending on how they play, 10-6 likely gets you in. So if you lose this game and you try to get in 9-7, there's a lot of different variables there that need to work in your favor to get in. So must win.
Yeah, you have a must-win approach. You don't want to go in and be like, hey, whatever happens, happens. Let's give it a
Exactly.
Give it the old college try. All right, final question. It's not a question. Pick a winner.
Am I up first?
Yeah.
I'll go. I think the Niners are going to win. I don't know what the spread is, but I think they win 27-24, 27-21, something around that range.
Yeah, I'm usually prepared with the spread. I know it opened up, or I saw it at 3, and now it's 1.5 favoring the Bills. So it's a super tight spread. I like the 49ers to win outright with Deebo Samuel, Raheem Mostert, Brandon Ayuk with this full complement for backup Nick Mullens, who's playing well enough to win right now. I like it. They have their identity back. They have their swagger back. Give me the 49ers winning 27-24. Another 3-point victory.
I'll go. I think the Niners are going to win this one too. If I was crazy, I would say it's going to be 34-31 Niners, no punts. It's going to be a ball game like that, like 92 when Jim Kelly and Steve Young went at it at Candlestick. No, I think this is going to be a little bit lower scoring game. I think it's going to be somewhere around, I think look at 49ers to get around 23 again, maybe 27. If they're lucky, 26, 27. Probably win by about 3-4.
Okay. We got a question coming in. I guess I should get my prediction right. I'm picking the Niners to win this game. And I really think the Niners defense is going to play really well. I think they're going to have a game like they did against the Vikings last year in the playoffs. I think like 10 first downs. I think they're going to smash this Bills offense. I do. So I think the Niners are going to win something like 21 to 17. 21-17. Something like that. 21-17.
Yeah.
All right. We got a question. Don't go anywhere, Nick. I know you got to rush. Got to do
I'm good.
stuff. Got to hang out with your girlfriend. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing.
43 minutes. I got 43 minutes left till my next meeting, if you will.
Sean says, Hammer, horse races are won by a nose. To compare Mull to Jim is ludicrous. Mull is a donkey in a horse derby. How about this one? Their pro win-loss record. Mullens has lost a lot. His arm makes Jim's look strong. Hey, man, there was a lot in that comment. Thank you so much, Sean. Do you want to take the first crack at that one, or should I go? No, Jack, you go first, and then I'll go because I got a lot to say about that.
Well, no, you know what? We've talked about this. I mean, I wish Sean had watched our film breakdown because we talked about it a little bit then. But you know, get out of here with the win-loss thing. Quarterback is not win-loss is not a quarterback stat. It's the whole team. If you look at what the teams. Let's go through it real quick. And you and I can do this, Grant. We can do it at the same time. If you look at the teams that the 49ers beat in 2017, who were the quarterbacks that defense faced?
Oh, we got rookie Mitchell Trubisky, no longer a starter. Tom Savage, no longer a starter. Sean Mannion, no longer a starter. Blake Bortles, no longer a starter. Marcus Mariota, no longer a starter.
Right. And the reason that's important isn't because Nick's going against him, but that's who the defense is going against. That made that 49ers defense a lot better and kept those games closer so that Garoppolo could basically lead them to field goals at the end of the game.
That's right.
That Jacksonville game, which everybody talks about as being Garoppolo's home,
King Lear
game.
Yes.
They had 3 interceptions in that game. They had a pick 6.
That's right.
They had another interception that was returned at the 26-yard line.
Another
one that was returned at I think the 14-yard line.
That's
so
right.
That was 2 drives that weren't even 2 touchdown drives that went 40 yards. I mean, come on, let's stop with that part.
And it's a team stat with different teams and different seasons. I mean, Nick didn't play last year. How can you compare Nick Mullens' numbers to 87 when you factor in the playoff game? Garoppolo's win-loss record is 5-4 when you factor in the playoff games. Mullens is 2-3 with a few games left. Let's see. I mean, really, they seem pretty neck and neck to me. And as I said earlier, I think they're both dependent on the game plan and the weapons at their disposal.
Yeah, I don't understand why people think that I'm saying that Mullens is necessarily better than Garoppolo. What I said in my comment was that the gap is narrow between the two.
It's negligible.
And it is. If you look at their play and you stop looking at the win-loss record, and that's why I asked the question today. Look at the poll that I put up today. most people, if you ask them who they want to have back, it's going to help the 49ers make the playoffs the most this year. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo. It's Nick Bosa. Why?
Right.
Because the defense is what's going to carry this team through.
That's a good point.
And, just to kind of circle back, and you kind of interrupted me, but that's okay because we're both talking about the same thing.
I got excited.
At the end of 2017, I wrote an article about how the 49ers, you had to watch out with Garoppolo because there was a lot of fool's gold in that. And we saw that at the start of 2018. They came out, played, lost, barely beat the Lions, got the ass handed to him against Kansas City. He was gone. That year he was 1-2. Mullens was 3-5. Mullens actually had a better win percentage.
Almost lost to Matt Patricia. Sorry.
Yep, exactly. Last year was such a good team. You can't, and I agree with you, Grant. Really, when you're trying to compare these two, you can look at them through all kinds of different lenses. But if you look at the teams in 2018, the teams in 2020, that's the best way.
Yeah, I mean that team in 2019 was stacked after they got Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, really, who do you stop? Okay, we got more. I think we started a fight. So hold on. Mav, unbutton, top button, please. This is a consensus request. Thanks. I don't know about that, Mav. Hold on. We got Sean coming back. I respect you. Come on, look at his throws. Watching Mullens is like casting lots all the time. My 10-month-old throw more accurately. Jeez, that is really harsh.
Yeah.
I actually thought Nick Mullens made some pinpoint throws in this game.
He did.
I'll let somebody else yell.
I mean, so I am a Jimmy Garoppolo believer. I think he's good, but at least for this season, in my opinion, when you get in the middle of the season, you kind of take the salary out of the conversation just because you can't really move on from a guy mid-season like Garoppolo, especially now you can't move on. So throw that out. Who's the better quarterback? I think Garoppolo is, but like Jack has said, it's a pretty narrow gap just because I think Mullens runs this offense pretty well when the plays are called to his advantage. But in that Rams game alone, I tweeted at the time, that 2-yard pass, I think it was to Samuel, when Donald broke through the line and almost killed him, and Mostert saved his life. Yeah, Ross Dwell, yeah. Mostert saved his life. That was the most insane play I've ever seen. Because if Aaron Donald was running at me, and I'm sure a lot of other people in the NFL, you just fall to the ground and hope he doesn't kill you. And he's still
play dead. You just play dead.
Yeah. Play dead.
That's true.
And the other one, Mav, that was similar to that was right before halftime when he had I don't remember who it was coming off the edge, and I think it was
Donald.
It was Aaron Donald.
He gave him the little shimmy between the legs. It was great.
That's right.
Him to his,
and he threw it right there. They're right there in field goal position. It was his fault they missed the field goal, but
yeah. So you better come with a little bit better stuff than that if you're going to take shots at Nick Mullens, Sean.
Come on, Nick. You got anything to say?
Look.
That's something to hear.
We all support Nick Mullens, but we all agree the Niners should spend their first-round pick on a quarterback.
Exactly.
We're not saying hey, franchise quarterback. This guy's amazing. Neither Jimmy Garoppolo nor Nick Mullens makes his teammates better. They're dependent on their teammates. And the one thing is, one guy's supposed to be dependent on his teammates. The other guy is supposed to make his teammates better. That's what he's paid to do. That's a good point. But when you see week one, I mean, he didn't have Deebo, he didn't have Ayuk, he had Kittle, he had Mostert, he was missing some things, and he was terrible, Jimmy Garoppolo. So he needs the full plate, the full everything, just like Nick Mullens. And I think when you just stop looking at Nick Mullens' face, I think what you guys are looking at is his face. You don't like his face.
See, I don't like that because you say I look like him, and then you call him ugly every week.
No, it's not that he's ugly. It's not that he's ugly. It's that he just doesn't have like the Clark Kent. There's a look that a quarterback has to have.
It's who was it? Someone. Oh my gosh!
Coward is the quarterback.
I don't look like a quarterback.
It's called Coward's quarterback face.
There's a face. I don't have it. No. You don't have it. None of us have it. Jimmy has it. I don't know what it is. Jimmy has quarterback face. Nick Mullens doesn't. Jared Goff doesn't have quarterback face. Eli Manning didn't have quarterback face. Peyton did. And I think if Eli doesn't get in the Hall of Fame, it's going to be primarily because of his face.
Or
that's my last take.
Losing season.
If it was a little bit more handsome, he would have been more respected. But everyone's like, oh, it's Eli. Look at him, with that voice too, Anyway.
Thanks for the tip, Sean.
Yeah. Maverick, I didn't mean to take shots at you in like a roundabout way. I think Nick Mullens is a very attractive man, and he's married and happily has kids. So someone must love him too. I mean, come on.
Hey,
Nick, own that. Grant, do OnlyFans. You guys are really gross. What is up with you guys?
Man.
Jeez. All right. If anyone wants to throw a little bit more money our way, no, I'm just kidding. Partially. No, we should stop. We should stop. It's 3:55. Thank you so much for watching. I think we broke down everything. Bills fans, if you're watching, you're welcome. I know you enjoyed it too. Take care.